Hey, I'm Paris from Paris May Reads. Welcome to my YouTube channel where I review books from a biblical worldview. Today we are going to be going through all of the 8 books I read during the past month with subgenres. I read 7 different subgenres, 7 genres with all 8 books. Here is a peek at the books. Do you want a quick peek of the spines? Here they all are. So let's get into these 8 books from 7 different genres. Preface. I don't know what I'm going to put this star category as when I edit this video because I don't know what to rate this book. I have been struggling to decide. It is somewhere between a 3.5 and a 4, so I might just have to settle at 3.75. I usually don't rate in quarter ratings, but maybe I should start because we love the nuanced book review. But this book is The Treasure Hunters Club by Tom Ryan, and this was actually sent to me by Atlantic Crime. It is an imprint of Grove Atlantic. When I got accepted into their reviewer program, they sent out a book as a yay, you got accepted, and so this was the book I chose. I actually listened to this on audio from Libby because I literally cannot read right now unless I'm listening to audio. My toddlers are just like a new level up. The first half of The Treasure Hunters Club was like mid-adventure mystery. I think the only reason why I was captivated by it because it was the only audiobook I had going, and the narrator did really good. There's 3 different points of view that you're following, and basically they all end up at a small town in Canada, in Nova Scotia. Let me see. There is a map. Okay, this is a mystery, and there's a map in the front. I don't know how many maps are in mystery books. I feel like they're more in fantasy books, but I kind of love having it in the mystery thriller genre. More maps, please. The town is called Maple Bay, and it's set in Canada, in Nova Scotia. It's giving Halifax vibes. Just think beautiful coastal town with a treasure hunting mystery from a tall tale pirate who landed on the shore and buried his treasure. So we're following 3 different points of view, and they are all trying to uncover this generational mystery of the treasure. Has it been found? Is it still hiding? Different families, influential and non-influential families in the small town, are deep into this treasure hunting mystery. So I can't remember when it happened, maybe 60%. There was a twist, and this might be a spoiler because I didn't even know that there was supposed to be a twist, but there's a big twist. And basically from that point on, I really enjoyed the book. The twist made it turn more thriller, which I really liked. It was a bit more fast paced. All the pieces started coming together, and the ending was actually more nuanced and had a lot more pieces get uncovered and like strings come through. So I feel like the ending was really well wrapped up. The last 40% didn't really outweigh the like mid first 60%. My 3-star ratings are still good ratings. They're just more of like, it wasn't a favorite one, it wasn't necessarily for me, but I can see how readers would really enjoy this book. The cover and jacket design are gorgeous. This would be a really fun summer read. I don't know, should I give it 4 stars? If you've read this, let me know in the comments what your star rating is. This one is really throwing me for a loop because I really did love the twist. Might just keep it 3.75. Quick takes are question mark out of 5 stars. That's what I put in my review because I just don't know. Let's narrow it down to 3.75 to 4 stars range for this one. Language was strong, spice is none, and content is murder, death, and same-sex attraction. So more positives about this. I really loved all the points of view. The more points of view an author can give me, the better. I love them. I love seeing the stories come together from everyone's different perspectives. So if you're looking for a mystery, adventure, treasure hunting, thriller, check this one out. Getting truly into my 4-star ratings. We're gonna start with Wormwood, Abbey by Christina Baehr. This is her first book in the Secrets of Ormdale series, and I think there's 5 books now. I think it's a completed series now. She just came out with the 5th book. I believe it's the last book, but I've been obsessed with her covers for forever. So I have this beautiful physical copy now. I love who she had do her cover design. And this was a cozy mystery fantasy Victoria era. If you like Emma M. Lyon, if you like Agatha Christie, if you like Little Women, if you like Jane Eyre. This has like little parts of all those books in it. When I say cozy, I think sometimes people use cozy as slower pace, and this one did have a slower pace. It took me a couple chapters to get used to her writing style. Now this thing is not very thick, 175 pages, so it's short. I think her first 3 books are short like this, and then the 4th one might be a little bit thicker, and then the 5th one is like a normal size book. Very excited to keep reading these. I need to go buy the rest of them. My quick takes on this book are 4 out of 5 stars. Language is none. Spice is none. Content is death. So it is a pretty clean read. This also was written for, I think her target audience was adults, but also she has said that it's written for the whole family to enjoy, and I think that younger readers, like teen and up, would love reading it. Second book in my 4-star category is The Mysterious Affair at Styles by Agatha Christie, and this is book number 1 in her Hercule Poirot series, and I have read a few books, 3 maybe, in her Hercule Poirot series, just like one-offs. I've read Murder on the Orient Express. I have read the ABC Murders. I think I've read one more. Yes, Murder in Mesopotamia. I actually own all 3 of those too. So I've read all 3 of those, and they're all one-off. Like, they're all just in the mix. And I don't even know what numbers they are, but it was really fun to actually read the first book in the series and get formally introduced to the Belgian detective Hercule Poirot and the narrator of the books, Hastings, and his character. Honestly, meeting Hastings was more fun, I think, than meeting Hercule Poirot, because I don't think I realized how like confidently naive and unaware Hastings is in all of it. I mean, at some point he's like, I'm really great at deduction, and I think like I secretly have always wanted to be a detective and think I'd be great at it. And he's always thinking like, no way Hercule Poirot is figuring this out. Like, he's a Belgian. Like, we all know Hercule Poirot knows what's going on. Hastings has no clue. He's not good at deducing. So is he an unreliable narrator? Maybe. He leads us astray, but not on purpose. It comes across as confidently unaware. So I also really enjoyed seeing his and Poirot's banter start, because in the later books they get more and more progressively sarcastic, like dry humor toward each other. Poirot knows that Hastings is like kind of aloof and Hastings might not understand like how much Poirot is joking with him. So I don't know, it's really nuanced humor and I really like it. I also didn't realize that I don't know if they're Scotland Yard, I can't remember now. There's 2 detectives that help out that are on like an actual police force. They're more consistent characters, which I don't think I realized just reading the random one-offs that I have. So it was fun getting to meet them too. I listened to this on audio. So I just recently found out that with my Audible subscription, there are at least 5, I think like her first 5 books are all included in your Audible subscription. So if you have Audible, you can get these without a credit. You can just add them to your library and listen to them. So that's how I listened to this one. I've also found that on Libby and Hoopla, if you use those apps with your public library card, there's usually always an Agatha Christie available on audio to listen to. So she's really become my go-to audiobook when I need like a palate cleanser, because I am truly like a thriller murder mystery girly at heart. Knowing that I have like a solid 4-star read that I'm not gonna be able to figure out the ending to is really great. This one was narrated by Richard Armitage, and he did a really great job. He has a fun little personal note at the beginning saying why he wanted to narrate an Agatha Christie book, which was a fun personal touch, and I just think it was all really, really, really great. I want to get into more of her stuff. I think I've read 5 or 6 of her books now, so slowly chiseling away at her exhaustive library of titles. Like I said, I did not figure this out. I have yet to figure out an Agatha Christie book. I usually can get like one part figured out, but then the whole picture doesn't come together until the very end when it is explained to the reader. And this one had a lot of little teeny details and nuances in the plot that I did not pick up on at the end. And I was like, wow, I missed a lot in this one. So it was a really great kickoff to her successful Hercule Poirot series. My quick takes are 4 out of 5 stars. Language is infrequent, mild. Spice is none. And content is death and extramarital affair. Speaking of quarter ratings, my 3.75 earlier, this next book, I gave it 4, but if I could give quarter ratings, if I could. I get to make the rules to my ratings, right? So maybe I should just start doing that more. But I would give this one 4.25, and that is Lethal Kings by Victoria McCombs. This was my read along this month. This is the second book in her Fae Dynasty duology, and I liked this one even more than the first one. It is a true YA, and if I had read this in high school, I would have absolutely loved it. It is a great audience for high school teen readers. This one went more into the games and strategy of the Fae realm, and I really, really liked that aspect of it more. And you just get to see more of the characters. I love duologies. Highly recommend this if you're looking for a YA book that is appropriate for teen readers. She does a really great job of making you not trust anyone. I mean, the main character is a mortal girl who gets brought into the Fae realm to be their queen, and she's trying to unravel the mystery of the mortal queens. And this one is titled Lethal Kings because she's in a competition with all the other kings. The winner gets the Lost King's power. So there are 7 Fae Kings, and the 7th one has been missing. There was some really fun twists in this that I did not expect at all, and I was like giddy clapping when it happened, like yay, so excited. So I just think that teen girls would absolutely love this book. And like I said, this is like a twisted web of trickery and lies and undermining, and even the people that she became friends with, I still did not trust. I was like, literally everyone's out to get this girl. So I was as untrusting as her, if not more, for all of the Fae that she came into contact with. Mortal Queens and Lethal Kings are the first 2 books I've read by this author, and I'm really excited to read some more of her books. I'm actually on her ARC team for an upcoming release, so I'm excited to talk about that one. Probably in next month's video, because I'm going to be reading it here soon, and just really love Victoria McCombs and what she's doing and bringing to the table for the YA audience. Quick takes on Lethal Kings is 4 out of 5 stars. Asterisk 4.25 out of 5 stars. High school peers would have given this 5 stars. Like I said, reads as a true YA. Language is none. Spice is kisses only. No explicit content. And content is murder and death. I have one book in my 4.5 star category this month, and that is the newly released The Love Haters by Katherine Center. Look at how fun this book is. And we are heading into summer. This is a great summer read. Let's see. Look at the beautiful green, pink lettering on the spine, sprayed in pages, fun turquoise, and then super fun colorful palm trees on the inside. I also got this book from the publisher St. Martin's Press. I got it as an ARC, and I actually got the audio as an ARC, and then I received this in the mail. I was not expecting to get a physical copy. This isn't even an ARC. This is like a finished physical copy. I just am like still kind of like jaw on the floor that I received this, because I haven't received a physical book from them in forever. So I don't really know how they decide who gets what book, but I got this one. So the audio for this was really successful. I really loved the narrator, and I actually went back through and highlighted. I didn't tab them though, so I don't know if I'll be able to find them. Oh yeah, here's one. I went back through and highlighted some of the quotes. They were just like so good. So Katherine Center writes rom-com with depth, and I think a lot of the rom-coms I've read kind of lack the depth part. Like, it's just a true rom-com, and the characters don't also get, like, you have the rom-com happy-go-lucky vibe, but you don't have like the true emotional depth to balance it out. So far, out of all the books I've read of Katherine Centers, they have had that, and I really appreciate that as a reader. I personally related to the topics in this book more than the other 2 I've read. The other 2 were The Bodyguard and The Rom-Commers, and I think I've given all of her books 4.5 stars. This one just struck a more personal chord with me, and the topics that specifically stood out to me with this book were body image and cyberbullying. Katie is a videographer, and she is in like the filmmaking industry, struggling to keep her job because they're making cuts. And then she gets put on a project to make a commercial for the United States Coast Guard. And she goes to a base in Florida and meets a rescue swimmer for the commercial. So she has to follow him around and interview him. She's basically forced into this, like, everyone wears swimsuits all the time, and I have to, like, I'm being forced to get comfortable in my body. So the relationship with him is kind of secondary to the relationship she is trying to build with her body and her image. And this is not like self-love type body image, body positivity. It is like, I have a negative view of my body, and I've struggled with body image in the past, and that was due to the cyberbullying that she experienced. It just seems so relatable to me as someone who has walked through postpartum 3 times and being like, this isn't how it used to be, and what do I still like about my body? If you've struggled with body image in any way, I think you will really personally relate to her narrative throughout the story. And then secondly, her cyberbullying I related to because I've also been on the receiving end of that. There's just a whole scene with her and the rescue swimmer where she it comes up again and she has to face it head on again. That's the majority of what I highlighted in the book. And I was just like, yes. So anyone who's had any type of bullying and then felt bad about themselves afterwards and taking what the mean things people say who don't really know and love you to heart, you're going to be able to relate to that as well. So quick takes on this are 4.5 out of 5 stars. Language is strong. I will say I put strong on any book that has the F word in any type of circumstance. So there is one use of the F word in this book, and then the rest of it is moderate. Spice is closed door. Content is past infidelity and divorce, past death of parents, body dysmorphia, and cyberbullying. All right, let's get into my 5-star reads. 5 stars. The books I loved from this past month. We're going to start with a nonfiction. It's a memoir. It's called Every Falling Star by Sungju Lee. And this is the true story of how he escaped North Korea. I read Star of the North by D.V. John. It's back there on the shelf 2 months ago maybe, and I gave it, I think, a mid, 3.5 star. However, one thing that I did love about it is that I was really interested in learning more about North Korea, and one of the books that he cited in his author's note at the end was this book. And so I went, immediately after finishing that book, I went to Libby and put this one on hold, and I listened to the audio of this. It is not narrated by the author. What he survived was horrendous, and what he lived through and what happens in North Korea is just so eye-opening, and it just made me squeeze my girls tighter and just be so thankful for the simple things that we have that we take for granted. We have power 24 hours a day, and we have running water all the time, and I can go to the store and get food. It just puts everything into perspective. There's still a couple more memoirs that I want to read about North Korea, and I'm waiting for them to come up on hold on Libby. This one specifically, though, is written, so it follows his life when he was in North Korea from ages 9 to 16, and it is written for that age audience, which I love. If you can give that age range the perspective of what is happening anywhere else in the world, outside of them, outside of their bubble and their space, it's successful. It's not even an early reader adaptation. He wrote it for that age level, and it brings up a lot of just outside of how blessed and spoiled we are in America, but also brings up the different class system in North Korea and the contrast between the elite and accepted and what they are given, and the propaganda that they are fed compared to the impoverished rest of the nation. It brings up a lot of different thought-provoking topics, especially to talk through with this age range, the 9 to 16 or plus age range. I mean, me as an adult loved this book, and some of those concepts and topics are propaganda, racism, and political corruption. Some of my favorite books that my mom read to us growing up, I mean, even in middle school and high school when we could have read them ourselves, but she read them aloud to us, were memoirs. And one was God's Smuggler, and I can't think off the top of my head who's it by, but it's his memoir of him smuggling Bibles into countries where they were banned. I have such vivid memories of my mom reading that book to us aloud in the car on a road trip, and this book would make a great read aloud to kids in the 9 to 16 age range. My quick takes on this book are 5 out of 5 stars. Language is none. Spice is none. And content is real world experience of brutality, fighting, poverty, and then there is some off-page reference and inference to rape and prostitution. Next 5 stars, another rom-com, and this one is Everything's Coming Up Rosie by Courtney Walsh. This actually hasn't released yet. I got this as an ARC. It releases soon. When do you release? June 10th. I love this one. Again, I got the audio ARC, and then I'm on this author's ARC team, so I got a physical copy in the mail, which is so generous of her to send to me. And I will say the audio book of this is probably hands down my favorite narrator I've ever heard narrate a rom-com. She just knocked it out of the park. She made the whole story come to life and come off the page, and I absolutely loved it. She has spoiled me for all other narrators. This book follows Rosie, who is, I want to say she's late 20s, maybe early 30s, I can't remember. She's been trying to chase her dream of acting in New York, and it is not coming together. She's about to have to move home for the summer and try and figure out what she's going to do, if she's going to try and continue acting, when she just ends up landing a job at a theater in Wisconsin. So she gets there, and not everything is as it seems. There's some really quirky, disgruntled characters in this book that are endearing. So I am not personally connected to theater, but as an artist and having a dream that is not necessarily conceptual and practical to everyone, I really related to this book. If you have ever chased after an unattainable dream or a seemingly unattainable dream, or you had to give up a dream and grieved that dream, I think that this book is for you. I also think this book was so successful because the author, Courtney Walsh, actually owns a theater with her husband in their town, and she has a theater degree. And so you can just tell that she is very passionate about that in her writing, and it comes off in her pages and in this plot, and it is very successful. While this is a closed-door romance, and I would say it's a rom-com, there are some funny parts that I laughed at. It does lean, a lot of her books lean more towards women's fiction. It does kind of have that women's fiction bent, so not necessarily super heavily romantic, but there is a romance plot line. And like I said, if you are an audiobook listener, and even if you're not, you have to listen to this one. It is narrated by Georgina Marie, and again, I think she's going to be in my top 3 narrators, because I just really loved her. My quick takes on this one are 5 out of 5 stars, language is none, spice is kisses only, and content is parental abandonment. my last book. Okay. I love this series. 5 stars. Ruin by John Gwynne. This is book 3 in his The Faithful and the Fallen series, and I really can't even tell you how much I'm loving this series and this book specifically, because you're finally to the point. I'm getting cozy, all right? We're gonna chat about this one. It finally gets to the point in the story where you are seeing like big character development, and all the plot lines are starting to come together. You have more characters working together. All of the truths and half-truths and lies and manipulations are starting to come to light, and it is just so good. And I had about this much left. I was like, we're in a cozy spot. Like, everything's going great for everybody. Like, this is going to be a good ending to the book. Everyone's happy right now. You know, I'm kind of the reader where I like seeing all the characters be happy and not have to go through strife. And then all of a sudden, John Gwynne is like, just kidding. And the ending is the most devastating cliffhanger ending of the book so far. I have been biding my time to get into Wrath, because I'm reading this. Wrath is the 4th book. I'm reading this with a book club, and we're doing 1 book per month. So I am trying to stay on pace with the book club, and I just am very, very, very eager to get into Wrath. I have been listening to these on audio and have been semi-following along as I listen, so I can tab and highlight. But man, what a journey, specifically this book, because not even the book itself, but just my reading journey. So like I said, I've been listening to audio, and he has so many points of view, and I love so many points of view. Thankfully, this is helpful. There is a cast of characters with all the characters in the front. These are not all the points of view, but all the characters. So you can look them up in the map. I have been looking at the map more to try and figure out, like, all right, where are they? Because most of the time I just don't really pay attention to that. But in a big series like this, once I get further into it and I'm actually familiar with all the names of everywhere, I'm like, all right, now I need to see where these all are in relation to each other. So it was a journey to read, as just the plot itself was a journey, but also my personal reading experience with the book. I started it, and there's a new point of view in this one, and I kind of got mixed up at the beginning with what had happened in the previous book and 2 different battles and which one happened where and who was part of it, and then the new point of view came up, and I was like, I am confused and I don't want to keep reading until I get this all straightened out. So I talked with my friend about it, figured it out. took maybe like a week off from the audio just to like kind of think through what had already happened. And then I got back into it and was devouring it at night after my children went to bed. This book also made me the most emotional out of the other 2 books so far. Everything is finally happening and like the big things are starting to happen and the characters are looking back and saying like, wow, we've come so far. And there's like tremendous character growth and I am emotionally attached to these characters. I'm invested in their livelihood. I did tear up and I had a little giddy moment too. Also, I'm still really loving the pacing. There is like battle all the time, but since you're doing different points of view and people are traveling and like the time frames are a little bit longer for things, the pacing is like a really great, like things aren't happening too fast or too slow. It's really good. And then the biblical allegory in this series is just becoming more and more clear. And it's very, very right versus wrong, good versus evil, and doing right because it's the right thing to do, not just because like if I do this right thing, it's going to be good for me. It's like, no, I'm doing this because it is right. And I have a moral compass. So I love seeing that in this book. I am really excited to get into the final book. I know I'm going to have a huge reading slump afterwards. So my summer reading might be kind of rough. Everything else that's happened so far and with the pacing, the way that he writes his pacing, I'm hoping that the ending is the perfect amount and not just like the end. My quick takes are 5 out of 5 stars. Language is infrequent, moderate. The first book had like hardly any mild. The second book had a little bit more mild use, still infrequent with a couple of moderate. And this one had still very infrequent, moderate. Spices, none. This is not a romantasy. This is epic fantasy. But there are this book did have some romance plots finally come about. There is a kiss in this one. And that was like a giddy, like, yay, finally type thing for me. So that was fun. I actually tabbed it in a different color. This is where they finally kiss. This is like the amount of fantasy to romance that I want in a novel. Like this is the romance and all of this is the epic fantasy. Content. Themes of warfare, graphic violence and killing, torture, and death. Some epic fantasy stuff going on. But the narrator does a really great job. He doesn't necessarily do like lots of different voices, but he is successful in portraying the different characters and keeping your mind entertained. And yeah, just all around. I mean, like 5 out of 5, 6 out of 5 stars. I love this series. Will not ever stop talking about this series. If you're looking for a spice-free fantasy series and you haven't read this, you have zero excuse. Go read it. Start with Malice, book 1. Don't start with this one. Book 1's called Malice. Start with that one. You're welcome. Thanks for joining me in wrapping up all the books I read this month. I really love chatting about these verbally to you monthly. It has been really great just solidifying in my mind. What do I think about these books? What happened? Keeps my memory on top of things. Tend to just like close and put away when I'm done. And then I'm like, I don't remember what happened. Writing down reviews and then verbally processing them with you helps me remember for longer what actually happened in books and what I liked and didn't like about them. So thank you for allowing me this outlet. And if you haven't already, click on my face right here to subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out this video right here as well. As always, until next time, I hope all of your books are 5-star reads. But seriously, I hope they're all really good.